Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Harold C. Williams. To Chair Rosenbaum, members of the Commission, Executive Director Warner, you've asked us to give you a picture of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what we wanted to do to start from a historical perspective, to give you some of the reasons why African Americans and other people of color feel disenfranchised as it relates to PDC. But from a historical perspective, for African Americans, we go back to the Vanport days in the late 40s, when African Americans were brought to Oregon to work on the railroad and in the shipyards. They were housed in Vanport. About 40,000 people lived in the Vanport area. Somehow, the dikes broke because African Americans didn't want to go back home to the South and wanted to stay here, so they were flooded out. And then forced to move into Northeast, where now the Coliseum is housed. That was the African American community. Our churches, our businesses, all our social activities were housed in that area. Then a great thing happened. Someone decided to remove African Americans because they needed to build the Coliseum. So African Americans were forced in further to then call Albina, where the Emmanuel Hospital is housed. Many businesses on Russell, Williams Avenue, Vancouver Avenue, where African Americans had social clubs, restaurants, clothing stores, all kinds of pharmacies. All of that was housed in that area. During that period of time in the late 60s and 70s, and beginning with the early 50s, what happened, those businesses were forced out with a thing that was happening right after PDC was established in the late 50s, called gentrification and condemnation. What happened, all of the land was taken, what we call fair market value, was really a dime for nothing, and taking all of the property that most of the African Americans held, with businesses all the way down to Russell on Mississippi and Interstate. All of those properties were taken for the great expansion, because at that time the freeway was coming through as well, the expansion of I-5. So the African American community was destroyed. Our economic base was killed. Then, with that, no respect was given to our culture, what we felt, what we believed, and our commitment to this great state and to this city. After that, then we come to where we are today. We talk about gentrification in the African American community, not being able to be a part of the dreams and hopes of the city as we expand for the future. There's a saying, the difficulties of life you can handle with ease. The impossible takes a little bit longer. What we are dealing with is trying to bring the impossible into focus and make sure that every individual has an opportunity to be a part of the bounty of the state, the city. The beacon light happens to be PDC. PDC acknowledges that it has made many mistakes. It has not been inclusive to everybody. Some of that came about out of ignorance. I choose to believe that people don't do things just out of mean-spirited. The staff at that time, in the early days, was given an assignment to make it happen, to expand, to make sure blighted areas were improved, and we have a positive expansion of the city and growth and new development. That's what the staff did. However, in doing the job, cultures were wiped out. Sensitivities were overlooked in what was happening to those people, that particular being African Americans and other people of color. We have Hispanics and Asians have a strong history, was left out in the process as well. Where are we today? We're in a position to address the wrongs and move forward with the future. It has been stated in my conversations with Executive Director Warren, he wanted a new picture for PDC, not to deal in black and white, but to deal with what is right. That is the position that we are taking to move forward. We must deal with the doors being open to every culture to make sure all persons know that they have a place in the bounty of PDC. Let us make it clear. Developers must have opportunities to develop and to grow. The unions must have opportunities for their membership to expand and people to have livable wage jobs. It's also important that everyone be able to participate a part of that bounty. African Americans and other people of color do not want to hamper the growth of unions, to hamper the growth of developers, but we must acknowledge and be a part of the fabric of growth, the economic development. We talk about an issue of called, what are we going to deal with? We saw capacity is an issue. Capacity is very simple in Oregon because you have less than 37,000 African Americans in the Portland metropolitan area. If you hired every eligible male, female was able to work, we wouldn't put a 1% dent in the marketplace. So what are contractors and developers being afraid of? That's in every field, medical, hotels, restaurants, construction, everything. We wouldn't threaten anybody. So when you say you can't have it, don't find people, it's an issue. If it's capacity we must do, then we do mentorship. Every company can do mentorship, on-the-job training. We've been doing it historically. So why is it different when we talk about people of color? If it's a priority, anything that's a priority, if those of us who are married and have households, if the mate wants to expand the kitchen, buy new furniture, you say you can't afford it, but it's going to be a priority, somehow that new dining room comes about. So it's the same thing with anything else. If it's a priority, you can make it happen. The issue is, are African Americans and other people of color a priority in the city? There were some who will come before you and give excuses why they can't achieve the goal. It's very simple. If it's a priority within their organization and within their institutions, they can achieve it. If it's not a priority, then they won't achieve it, and capacity will not be achieved at all. The issue is very simple. I've been in the city 47 years. I believe in the city of Portland. I love it. There's no place on earth better. They say this is God's country. I truly believe it. The issue, though, where do I stand as an African American male? Where do my children stand? Where do the next generation stand? Will they be a part of this great dream? Then there's an issue that we must address. Everybody wants to indict PDC, but all of us are feeding off of PDC. We can't destroy something, then ask it to keep us alive. We must support. Everybody must come to the table willing and able to make concessions, willing and able to do what is right and to be inclusive. Many who own major corporations and developers, I use an analogy. You are the bread company. You make all of the bread, but it's no excuse for not allowing us to have an opportunity to buy a loaf. If we can buy a loaf and to participate, then all of us can eat. We're not jealous of those who are developers and make great money. We're not trying to destroy the concept of unions to feed and have livable wage jobs for their members. But what we are saying, if you're going to get the bounty of this state, this city, and this organization, you must look at capacity and deal with other faces who have not been in the table and stop giving excuses. If you truly believe in the growth of this organization, then capacity will be a priority because we can all develop and move in a positive direction. To give without remembering and to receive without forgetting. That is the basic philosophy that we must have for this organization, we must have for this city and this region. If we move in that direction, PDC will not longer be the whipping board for the city, but will be the beacon light in what it is. Has it made mistakes? It's like any family. Yes, it has made mistakes. But do we throw members of the family out because they stumped their toe? I think not. And we can't not do that to this organization. What I say as a person who's been in this struggle for a long time, I've fought PDC on many issues, but I don't want to see it destroyed because it is a great organization and it offers positiveness for this city. And I hope we all join hand in hand in bringing a new future to make this place a better place. And there's no excuse if we lock out those who've been disenfranchised. And I close out with this statement. If we drop an atomic missile in the city of Portland, does the fallout just stop with African Americans? It hits everybody. So if we're going to have the fallout with economic development and the bounty of growth for all of us, let the fallout hit all of our pockets. At this time, Harold, too, will give you a breakout of what has happened with the minority contractors, some of their views. We're just starting in this effort. And we have talked with some of the contractors, some of the apprentices, and labor representatives. And you will find some interesting analogies. Steve Hartamura, who we're a part of his team, was not able to be here, but Dr. Garfield DeBarbaladum will also give you an insight of what's going on inside of the organization. Because what we feel, unless we heal those who are at home, we can't go out in the community and make it whole.